Not long ago, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Russia, on the anniversary of the Reds campaign into Poland, when the Soviet Union invaded Polish territory, referred to this event as a liberation campaign. This has raised many questions from the Polish side. Let's understand why the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs calls the Polish campaign a liberation one, and why the Polish side disagrees. First, let's briefly consider what happened at that time and how the Soviet Union invaded Poland. On September 1st, 1939, World War II began with the Germans' invasion of Poland. Full-scale military operations were carried out to the detriment of Poland, and Nazi forces were capturing city after city. The Allies, represented by Britain and France, although declaring war on Germany, took no action. The Soviet Union, in turn, initially did not react to the war, taking place almost at its doorstep, and maintained a position of neutrality, stating that it was a war among capitalist countries. However, the situation began to change, and the Soviet leadership expressed concern about the events unfolding in Poland. As a result of the emergent situation, on September 17, 1939, the Soviet Union deployed its troops to eastern Poland and later annexed part of Polish territories. The Polish army offered weak resistance. Thus, in September 1939, Polish lands were divided between the Soviet Union and Germany, and the Polish state ceased to exist. Now let's address the main question: why is this campaign called the Liberation Campaign, as previously mentioned? The Soviet leadership did not immediately attack Poland at the start of the World War II, and it was only after 17 days, when Poland was already on the brink of collapse. The Polish army could not withstand the enemy's pressure, and the Germans were capturing city after city. The Polish government had fled the country, which is why the Soviet leadership claimed that the Polish state no longer existed. At the same time, the advancement of Nazi forces towards the Soviet border was intensifying, causing concern for the Soviet leadership. A significant reason for the invasion was the defense of the Ukrainian and Belarusian peoples residing in Poland, who found themselves engulfed in war. The motivation for their protection stemmed from the fact that Ukrainian and Belarusian Soviet republics were part of the USSR, and their subsequent incorporation was justified by historical justice. Indeed, the eastern lands of Poland were predominantly inhabited by ethnic Belarusians and Ukrainians. These particular territories were annexed to the USSR as a result of the Red Army's entry into Polish territory, with little resistance from the Polish army. The Ukrainian and Belarusian populations welcomed the Red Army with joy, and in some places, uprisings against the Poles even broke out. It's worth noting that Western countries, despite their military obligations to Poland, did not provide any assistance in the fight against Hitler, and only the Soviet Union could protect the population. The Soviet leadership also relied on the so-called Curzon Line, which had been proposed by the British government back in 1920. This line was intended to demarcate the border between Soviet Russia and Poland. The lands inhabited by ethnic Ukrainians and Belarusians would have fallen under the jurisdiction of the Soviet Union. However, as a result of the Soviet-Polish War, Poland expanded its territories to the east and seized lands beyond the proposed line. Although the Soviet authorities eventually recognized Poland's border and had no formal claims to them, the deployment of troops into Poland and the annexation of those territories to the USSR in 1939 became an important precedent. Furthermore, the Soviet government also remembered how Ukrainians and Belarusians had been oppressed in Polish territory during the interwar period. Indeed, Poland systematically curtailed their rights and attempted forced assimilation, even limited their national rights. In Soviet historiography, terms like the Liberation Campaign of the Red Army or the defense of the property and population of Western Ukraine and Belarus were commonly used. It seems that the current authorities also employ this position, relying on Soviet rhetoric. The only additional action taken by the Soviet government was to describe the campaign in Poland from an ideological perspective, referring to the then Poland as fascist, feudal, bourgeois, and similar terms. Within the framework of communist ideology, Poland was an obvious enemy of the Soviet Union. In general, the relations between the Soviet Union and Poland during the interwar period were tense, especially during the annexation of the Sudetenland. At that time, the Soviet Union offered military assistance to Czechoslovakia, but Poland refused to allow Soviet troops to pass through its territory. After the annexation of the Sudetenland, it became clear that the Poles had their own interests and also annexed part of Czechoslovakia's territory, namely the Tichin region. So why don't Western countries consider the Soviet troops as liberators of Poland and insist that the Soviet Union invaded its territory, calling it a military aggression? The key argument in this regard is, of course, the cooperation between the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany during this period, even before the war began. Specifically, on August 23, 1939, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Non-Aggression Pact was signed. The pact included a secret protocol dividing spheres of influence between the Soviet Union and Germany, including discussions about Poland. The eastern part of Poland was assigned to the Soviet sphere of influence, which means that the division of territories had been discussed before the war even started, and the Red Army's invasion of Poland was simply a matter of time and military necessity, as discussed in the Soviet Union. Furthermore, with the start of the Wehrmacht military campaign against Poland, negotiations between the Soviet Union and the Third Reich regarding Poland took place. Military assistance from the Red Army on Polish territory was also discussed after the Soviet Union entered Polish territory. There were hardly any clashes between the Red Army and the Wehrmacht, and as a result of the division of Poland, the countries agreed to sign a treaty of friendship and border demarcation. The most interesting part of all this was that the Germans, having occupied land in the Soviet sphere of influence during the battles, were forced to retreat from these territories and hand them over to Soviet control. This caused a misunderstanding among the German command, which was unaware of the secret protocol. For example, the city of Brest was ceremoniously handed over from German occupation and became part of Soviet Belarus. In addition to the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, additional negotiations took place between the parties after the division of Poland, during which the Soviet Union partly relinquished Polish territories with Polish population to Germany. In return, the Soviet Union received Lithuania and its own sphere of influence. Stalin only considered incorporating territories inhabited by Ukrainians and Belarusians into the Soviet Union. In general, despite all the public statements by the Soviet authorities about the downfall of the Polish state and the protection of Ukrainians and Belarusians, which was supposed to prompt the Soviet Union to take action, the fate of Poland had already been predetermined before the start of World War II. In secret, Germany and the Soviet Union held negotiations during the Wehrmacht's military campaign, and then jointly divided Poland, establishing the border between the countries by exchanging territories and populations. This cooperation between the Soviet Union and the Third Reich did not end there and continued until 1941. That's it for now, thank you for watching, don't forget to like and comment this video. Thank you.